So in this session, we are going to look at the research approaches and the classification of research. So there are three research approaches here that we need to use in a research. We call them approaches. That's because we are looking at how the researcher is going to address a, a research problem. And this approach is going to affect the data, the, the kinds of instruments the researcher is going to use to collect the data. They are also going to affect the methods of analyzing that data, and they will also show us the kind of conclusion or recommendation the researcher is going to draw. So researchers that take the direction of approaching research following the quantitative approach, we are going to approach research in a quantitative way. Then this tells us that this researcher is going to mainly focus on quantity. When we talk about quantitative research approach, is about the quantity. That's why here we see the word, it dwells on the how much is affected. So if you are to approach research the quantitative way, then this research is going to be expressed in terms of numbers. That's why we call it is numerical, it is statistical, it looks at numbers. So the researcher places the emphasis on measurement when collecting data and analyzing the data. So this data that is collected quantitatively can be interpreted in terms of frequencies, in terms of graphs. You will see tables. This data that is quantitative, when you look at one's research and you say that this research is, for you to draw a conclusion that this research is quantitative, then you will see some graphs, some tables, some charts there, which are numerically representing what? The phenomenon that was investigated. So quantitative research also is also used to explain the relationship between two variables, whether the relationship is positive or negative relationship. If we want to see whether improving teaching methods can improve enrollment of learners in the school, then we say to create this relationship true, we need to measure improvement in teaching methods versus enrollment of learners. When we improve at the teaching methods but learners keep on reducing, we say that is a negative. We said is a negative relationship. When we improve teaching methods and the enrollment of learners increase, then that is a positive relationship. But the magnitude of positivity or negativity, how much is the positive and how much is the negative, is explained quantitatively. You have to come up with what? With a quantity to tell us that it is more or less, to what extent. For example, you improve the teaching methods and the 2 learners added on the enrollment, then it is a positive but very weak. You improve the teaching methods and increased by 200 learners, then you can say maybe it is positive but very strong. But in research, we have what we call measures of significance, which you will find what we call degrees of significance. That way you can base on something and say it is not significant. It is a positive relationship but not significant. Positive relationship but very significant. So we will see that quantitative is about numbers. However, qualitative research here is about what? So qualitative research is expressed in terms of words. And if you are to get qualitative research, you dwell more on getting people's views. People's views, and these views are open. Everyone has his own or her own opinion about the issue. That's qualitative. Usually, this form of research is classified under social sciences and is more descriptive and narrative in nature. People narrate their views, and you always to make sure that people are narrate what they feel. You set questions which are open-ended, and then maybe ask the people, what is your view on the salaries that you receive? Now there you have opened it. People will tell you how they take 7 months without paying them, and when they pay, they pay smaller amounts, and then yet the workload is big. They will explain a lot, which is not, that gives you the qualitative because you have made it open. But if it was to collect quantitative data, you can give, you don't even need to give people space of telling you what they feel. You tell them, you ask which of the following is true about your salary remuneration. It is low, moderate, high. That explanation of the take 7 months has been cut off. So the quantitative research, you can now get statistics of how many have said low, how many have said moderate, and how many are saying high. That's a scale of 3. You can come up with the what? The frequency. Then you will know that there are more people who are saying that it is high, and others are saying, and another bigger percentage is saying moderate. These ones who are saying it is low, they might be lying. That is low. But if it is the other side, you can now, based on those who are saying if they are saying low and it is high, then now you can take action. So if you are to collect quantitative data, you make sure that your questions are closed-ended. You've seen where you take off what your option. You don't add your own options or adding your own explanations. You just take off from what is already existing. then you'll be cut off from giving your own opinion. That person is focusing on quantity. But this one who is looking at your views, what you feel, your narrative, is looking at quality, the why and the what. Yet the other one is on the how much and how many. However, we have also situations where mixed research approaches are conducted, or one approaches research in a mixed research environment using the mixed research approach. They call it mixed because you're mixing quantitative approach with the qualitative approach here. So this means this blends together the qualitative and the quantitative research approaches. So its focus is on the numbers, but also the narratives to explain the why those numbers are like that. So this one, instead of using just open-ended questions for qualitative and the closed-ended questions for quantitative, he would use both. They will say, which of the following is true about your salary? High, okay, low, moderate, high. You take low and give reason why you have selected the low. That is now capturing the two data sets at once. And then somebody says high, then you also explain why, give a little description of your answer. Then that approach is mixed research approach. You will see that these approaches here are very, very key in research. Because they affect methodology, how you're going to collect data. For example, you will see that a researcher cannot say, my research is based on quantitative, and then you collected the data using interviews. That my research is quantitative, I collected the data using interviews. Yet interviews are used for collecting qualitative data. Because you interface with people face to face, and they give you their views, their opinions, and after giving you their opinions, now you can analyze them and draw conclusion. In interviews, so interviews are qualitative. But if you want to have quantitative, the interviews to be quantitative, then at least come up with a questionnaire. You need to come up with a questionnaire where people can tick off where they want. So questionnaires which have structured questions or closed-ended questions will best collect quantitative data where people can choose their opinions, already read options. But if you say you collected quantitative data using observation, that you observed and quantified, then that would not be appropriate unless you carried out an experiment. You will see that. Now, this is a relationship between quantitative and qualitative research approach. However, there is also a type of research called qualitative research, if you are to categorize them by approaches. Then this is a relationship between the quantitative and the qualitative research. If you are to look at data collected and to classify them by looking at data collected, here you will see that is numerical. It is a quantity in numbers. Yet here in qualitative research, you will find that it is verbal, or it is expressed in terms of text, or there are pictures there. That is by data generated. So you cannot say my research is quantitative and there are no numbers there. Or my research is qualitative and there are only numbers. Then nature of reality. The nature of reality. The nature of reality here is reality assumes objective, which is, we say, measurement of social reality, where the researcher goes in the field and assumes that what is known could be true. But here, the nature of reality is the researcher assumes constructed social reality, that what the people say, what is in the field, is what could be true, other than what is already known. Then this is the nature of causal. We don't call this causal. It is causal relationship. So views the causal relationship, the cause-effect relationship. This is cause-effect relationship. This relationship is viewed as being mechanical. In mechanics means it is things are happening even if people do not know their effects. It is mechanical. It does not rely on what people can explain. Whether people know the reason why things are happening or not, those things are happening. So it is more mechanistic in perspective, yet this one is more looking at realistic. So people have got to explain the relationship between the social, their association, how they interact with one another. This is that our experience. They will express their experiences here in qualitative research, which is not in quantitative. You are not given space to explain your experience. You say one thing, select one thing, leave us all others. Data will tell us, not you. The types of reasoning, you will see that this is but usually this quantitative research can use both inductive and deductive reasoning. When it comes to purpose, this is more discovery and this is confirmatory. You discover, and then this one is more of confirming what has been discovered. And then what we call here nature of research. Usually this is more in-depth research, which relies more on statistical evidence and statistical designs. You have to run statistics. You'll hear what we call correlations, correlations analysis, regression analysis in statistics to measure strength of variables. But this one, usually some researchers consider it to be shallower, and actually you can even, in qualitative research, you can even draw conclusion on 15 respondents, which quantitative research cannot, what is more based on numbers. So if you are to do that research, you should be in hundreds of respondents. So here you use representative samples in sample size determination. You get some samples and they represent all others. Here the samples have got to be able to inform. They are informative samples. That's why usually when people are undertaking research which is about plants or animals that cannot speak, you don't call them respondents because they cannot inform you. You call them representative samples. These ones can be informants, key informants. Like students can be informants. We can inform you by giving information. Data analysis, you use statistical methods, yet here, data analysis in qualitative, you use analytical methods. Here, you need statistics, such as descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. You will see what we call descriptive statistics. Those are mean, median, and mode. Then we also have standard deviation in inferentials. Standard deviation. Those statistics, but in qualitative you don't need them. You only need to analyze the narratives. They have provided you with the analytical methods which are qualitative. When it comes to generalization of findings, you'll find that to generalize findings, in generalization of findings, so findings here are generalizable from samples to represent an entire population. But this one you can base on a case and just pick members from the entire organization and study only that organization. When it comes to in qualitative research, you can study one organization. In quantitative research, you need several organizations and sample some of them so that you draw conclusion on what is happening with all. That's why here you can have a case. What we call a case in research is you get one and study that one and draw conclusion on it as though it is, and that can be used to replicate findings on all others. In qualitative research, you can study one school and finish one school and draw conclusion, which quantitative research does not allow. You need several schools. That's why here, if it is mixed research approach, we even say a case study of. The word case study of in research means that you're going to study more organizations or more institutions. If you say sorry for that. here when we say a case of, that's what I wanted to, a case of, it means you're going to study more organizations. But a case study, you study one institution. You'll see that when you are writing the research topic, where you have to write a case of, you've already written some research topics. When you say a case of maybe Kampala district, Uganda, then that means a case of primary schools in Kampala district, Uganda, that means you're going to study more schools in Kampala district. But when you say a case study of, you have to tell us which school you're going to study. A case study of Kampala Parents Secondary School. A case study, you study one institution. But a case of, you study 7. That is very key. Let's see this. We can also classify research based on what we call the aims. So this is classification of research based on aims. For example, we can have research aimed to be just basic. We can also have research aimed to be applied. This. What we call basic research, different from applied research. Now, for students like in the university, usually do basic research, because basic research can base on what other people have researched, and then you find those are the existing theories, and then you build on that. That's why you keep on saying according to says this, so this could also be possible according to, because that's basic. You're riding on the shoulders of those who have done research for you to conduct your own research. That's if whenever you present your issue, people will say, where do you get that fact? Those are just your own opinions. Who else has said in basic research? So in basic research, there's a lot of literature review. You have to cite other authors to give your own position. But in applied research, one can do research without necessarily citing who said the what. This research usually, some institutions that are aiming at improving and causing their own development beyond the knowledge, they use applied research. The number of learners in your school is reducing, and therefore you need to undertake some research to see how to improve what is causing the drop in enrollment, and so that you can increase enrollment but also sustain those inside there. You don't need to quote who said what about learners. So it is more examining the effectiveness or usefulness of some educational practices, and it looks at more of what the application of either a theory. How do we apply and put things to solve real life problems. Yet this one looks, the basic one looks at adding more knowledge. This one looks at adding more practice, improving practice. Improving practice, people doing better than they were doing earlier on. So when using these two, they are all also used to make sure we decide whether the findings we have can change. If the findings we have are changing practice, then that is applied. If it is they are simply making recommendations, one is just researching just to make recommendations, then that is still basic. Basic research will end at make recommendations and leave others to do what? To put the recommendations into practice. But applied research will actually make sure that practice, the what you call recommendations are actually put into practice. These researchers can even go to those schools they are saying these are the ways you should do, and make sure they work with the administration to implement those ways there, because it is for application other than for contributing knowledge, the applied research. So all this would be said that basic research, mainly you are either modifying knowledge or contributing to new knowledge. But this applied research, you are looking at making sure, yes, the problem is there, is studied, but you take solutions to eliminate the what? The problem. You must take the solutions and apply the solutions so that this problem is no longer existing. Yet basic research, they develop a theory or knowledge and wait for others to adopt it. So, but there is also a relationship between basic and applied research, because basic research can inform application. You can look at what people are saying, the knowledge they have contributed, so that when you are building applied research, you can actually know, you have a wider pool of knowledge on what to do. But as people do, they can also develop knowledge. So it is a cycle which feeds one another. So that is the first part. In the second part, we shall look at something here which we call the research process.